After spending 8 years in prison for attempted murder, this monster would fatally strike again. I'm True Crime Caitlin, and this is 1 Minute Murder. Larry Lawrence Singleton had served 8 years out of a 14-year sentence for the attempted murder, dismemberment and rape of 15-year-old Mary Vincent. I have posted that case if you're interested in listening to that. After his release, Larry would be moved to Florida, where he grew up. On the 19th of February 1997, a house painter who was working a couple of doors down from where Larry lived would witness something harrowing. He peered through the front window of his home, where he witnessed Larry completely naked, covered in blood, ferociously stabbing into a now limp woman's body. This woman was 31-year-old mother of 3, Roxanne Hayes. Roxanne was a loving, devoted mother who struggled with addiction. She'd done sex work in order to provide for her children so that they would never have to go hungry. Roxanne was stabbed by Larry at least 7 times, and deep scratches that were discovered on him proved that she had fought for her life against him. At his trial, he stated that Roxanne had agreed to come over and that he was going to pay her $20 for her services. But when he allegedly caught her stealing money out of his wallet, he flipped and ferociously stabbed her to death. Lawrence Singleton would be found guilty of the first-degree murder of Roxanne Hayes, and he would be handed the death penalty at age 70. However, he would die by cancer in prison before he was executed.
I don't know if you've seen this yet, but this actress, she went to a red carpet event and she had this dress custom made. It was painted by an artist. I'm sure it took a ton of time. You can see it over here. It's absolutely beautiful, the face of Jesus. But she wanted to showcase it while she walked up the red carpet and let everybody see the face of Jesus on display. But these security guards would not let her do it. They kept telling her no, like they kept picking it up and wadding it in a ball so nobody could see it. Like, this is just absolutely crazy. Who are they to tell her that she can't, showcase this dress, or she's not allowed to show the face of Jesus? This is Hollywood for you. They hate Jesus. They're afraid of Jesus. Well, Jesus said, if you deny me in front of men, then I'll deny you in front of my Father in heaven. This lady is amazing. She's not ashamed of the gospel. She's not ashamed of Jesus. If you're not ashamed of Jesus, then subscribe now.
Fam, have you heard that an island has appeared in the Pacific Ocean that should not be there?
No way.
Check this out. So a pilot on a test flight with a new model of aircraft over the Pacific Ocean stumbled upon an extraordinary phenomenon. As he got deeper into the ocean, he approached an island that he has never seen before, despite traveling across that exact path hundreds of times. What's even weirder is that the island was massive, like nearly half the size of Hawaii. As he got closer, he noticed a few buildings on the island deep in the forest, and then he saw what is believed to be like dinosaurs. So many dinosaurs roamed the island. It was straight out of a movie as the guy described it. As he neared the island, a stern warning was broadcasted over his radio, stating, "You are approaching state-owned private property. Turn back now, or we will take down the plane." With no other option, the pilot withdrew, managing to take pictures of the island and its ancient residents. To see the photos, follow us, click on this icon. Then more than photos.
This was like the case that sparked Americans' interest in true crime. The unsolved murder of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, and the trial of O.J. Simpson, who lost his battle cancer yesterday. Did the answers to solving this case die with him? The bodies of O.J.'s ex-wife Nicole and her friend Ron were found by her neighbors after being led there by Nicole's dog. They were found in Nicole's home and believed to be attacked around 10:15 p.m. Only 6 minutes away was the home of O.J. O.J. was meant to be picked up by a limo driver around 11 p.m. that night, but no one answered for 15 minutes. The limo driver then claims that a shadowy figure that matched O.J.'s height and weight snuck into O.J.'s house, and then O.J. himself emerged from his home shortly after, claiming that he overslept. There was quite a lot of DNA that linked O.J. to this crime, including a glove that was found at the crime scene that had O.J.'s, Nicole's, and Ron's blood on it. And that glove's matching pair that was also covered in blood was found at O.J.'s property. O.J. allegedly also had just bought a knife that matched the one that was used in the crime, but it must have disappeared into thin air because he was never able to give that knife to the police. So when the investigators paired that, and then also there was so much other damning DNA evidence with the fact that Nicole was recently telling her friends and family that O.J. was going to kill her, Also, while OJ and Nicole were married, the police got called to their home 9 times and OJ was charged with spousal abuse. The investigators felt like they had a pretty good case against OJ, so they went to charge him with double murder, but OJ tried to flee with his passport and a fake beard and mustache. There was this really silly police chase the entire time. OJ's threatening to unalive himself. Eventually, they did apprehend him, but the entire thing was just ridiculous. And then the trial for OJ Simpson was huge. For context, even though the evidence against OJ was overwhelming, at this time it's important to note that people really didn't trust the LAPD, especially the Black community. One of the lead detectives on this case was also an alleged racist, so OJ's defense lawyers really tried to push that OJ was being set up and framed because he was Black. So when you pair all that with the fact that 8 out of the 12 jurors were African American, it became a whose side are you on kind of thing. And then after deliberating for only 4 hours, the jury came back with not guilty. And nowadays, that's how most people believe that OJ got away with murder. OJ then went on to release a book called If I Did It, which he described as a hypothetical confession, which is super strange and extremely insensitive to Nicole and Ron's families. I know a lot of people were thinking that since OJ's been extremely sick for a while, he would maybe do some kind of deathbed confession, but it doesn't seem like that was the case. I am really interested to see all your guys' opinions on this case, so keep discussing with me in the comments.
This woman murdered her husband, tried to frame her daughter for it, and then kill her too. In April 1990, Stacey Castor married Michael Wallace. She called him the love of her life. The pair seemed perfect for each other, but behind closed doors, the reality was very different. They had 2 daughters together, Ashley and Bree, and Stacey seemed to take to motherhood really well. However, she told her family that her husband was drinking heavily. They were struggling financially and saw very little of each other. Then in 1999, Michael's health started to deteriorate. He was struggling to walk, talk, and was getting very sick. Tragically, in January 2000, he passed away. Doctors were really stumped as to what mystery illness had taken his life. They were interested in performing an autopsy to try and find out, but Stacey declined. She received over $50,000 in life insurance and started dating again. She married a man named David Castor in 2003, after meeting him just a year after her first husband passed away. Again, on the surface, things looked picture perfect. Then another dramatic situation would unfold. On the 22nd of August 2015, Stacey rang police. She explained that her husband had locked himself in the bedroom and wouldn't answer the door. Police rushed round, broke down the door, and had a horrific shock. David was deceased in their bed. Investigators noticed there was a green liquid in a glass by the bed, and they presumed that this must have been a self-unaliving via antifreeze. However, they were very concerned when they saw something on David's will. He'd left his entire fortune to Stacey and had completely left his son out of it. The forensic team also found Stacey's fingerprints on the glass with the antifreeze in. That's when investigators started examining the first death of Stacey's first husband in a little bit more detail. They exhumed his body and also found antifreeze inside of him too. Had Stacey murdered both her husbands? But that was not the end of the poisonings. A few days later, Stacey invited her 20-year-old daughter Ashley round. They were having a drink together and suddenly Ashley felt very sleepy. The following morning, Ashley's sister Bree failed to be able to wake Ashley up. Ashley was rushed to hospital where she did thankfully regain consciousness. That's when she was told something shocking. She was found with a suicide note. The note was marked from Ashley and admitted to killing both Michael and David. Ashley had not written this note. It became apparent that Stacey had tried to frame her daughter for the murder and also tried to kill her too. In 2009, Stacey was convicted of second-degree murder of David and forging his will. She was also convicted of the attempted murder of Ashley. She was never charged in the killing of her first husband, Michael. She maintained her innocence until she passed away in prison of a heart attack in 2016.
This is part 2 on what happened to 19-year-old Bianca Consoli. On September 13th, 2011, Bianca had a pretty typical day. She went to her part-time job in the morning, went to the gym, attended some evening classes, and then headed home to get some rest. Somewhere between 1 and 2 p.m., Bianca's mother, Marta, reached out to Bianca just to check in on how she was doing, but Bianca wasn't answering her phone. Marta didn't immediately worry, she just figured that maybe Bianca was sleeping, so she headed home to check on her. However, when Marta arrived home, she found her daughter's body in the living room. Bianca had bruises all over her body, and she was later found to have strangulation marks around her neck, as well as a plastic bag in her throat. Now, the scene suggested that a severe physical altercation had occurred because her hair was all over the place and the furniture was flipped around. First, police believed that maybe this was a robbery gone bad, but Marta said that no, that this wasn't a robbery because nothing was missing. She also added that the front door was locked, so whoever had come in either went through the balcony or through another door in the house. With this information, police believed that this was no longer a robbery gone bad and that whoever did this knew Bianca. In the autopsy, it was revealed that she did fight back as she had defensive wounds on her fingers. Her cause of death was asphyxiation and she had been essayed with a blunt object. After her death, Sandro was acting a bit odd. He couldn't give police a solid alibi, he wouldn't give them his DNA even though everyone else in Bianca's family had given their DNA, and he was basically the only man close in Bianca's life that would not cooperate with police. Bianca's family also started to suspect Sandro, and they believed that he is the one that stole the key to the kitchen. That way he could later use it to sneak in and attack Bianca. The only person that did not suspect Sandro was his wife Diana, Bianca's sister. She truly believed that her husband was not capable of doing this, so in order to prove herself right, she grabbed a pair of jeans that belonged to Sandro that had a little bit of blood on it, and he said that that blood was from a construction job that he was doing where he got injured. So she was like, okay, perfect, I'm gonna take Sandro's jeans that have a little bit of blood on it, give it to police, and then they're gonna confirm that his blood does not match the blood found at the crime scene, and Sandro will be cleared. Well, Diana was wrong because when police tested the blood, it came back as a match. Police also tracked Sandro's phone, and it placed him at the crime scene at the time of her death, so with that and the DNA match, they arrested Sandro. Sandro initially claimed he was innocent, but later confessed during a media visit in the prison. He said that yes, he did sneak into the house, but that the only reason he snuck in was to confront Bianca because he had seen her hit one of his stepkids, so Diana's kids. A physical fight ensued, which resulted in Bianca's death, and just to make sure that she was actually dead, Sandro decided to put the plastic bag in her throat just to make sure that she would never wake up. So he admits to killing her, but he denies essaying her. He specifically said that he was into blondes and that he would never essay Bianca because she had black hair. In the end, Sandro was only sentenced to 21 years and 4 months for the murder and essay of Bianca. In 2020, he actually faced trial again for essay allegations coming from Diana's children, but he was acquitted as there was no evidence. Bianca now rests next to her ex-boyfriend Andre, who actually died in a car accident shortly after Bianca's death. Heart goes out to the Consoli family, and I truly hope that Bianca is resting peacefully.
I believe that we're living in a simulation. Quantum physics proves to me that someone or something created this. This isn't just pop up out of the blue and just, hey, here we are. There's a universe with people in it. If I took all 8 billion people on Earth and took away the empty space in their atoms, I can fit every human being into one sugar cube. We're not even here. It's really our higher selves. Your body doesn't create the consciousness, it downloads it. Scientists were able to do something incredible. They created an 8th dimensional quasi-crystal. It gave them a glimpse into understanding the 3rd dimension. Not only did they find the edge of our universe, but they also found a merging part or the beginning part of another universe overlapping. This is pretty interesting because now it proves like, wait a minute, there is a multiverse. What happens at the other side of a black hole? Could it be a white hole? So as energy is being sucked out of one universe, is it going in and creating another universe from scratch? Is that the Big Bang? But I do believe that we're living in a soup of universes.
The popular girls at school befriended this quiet, nerdy girl who ended up unaliving them. Christine Paula was diagnosed with alopecia, so she was bald and had to wear wigs. She also had to wear these really thick glasses, so her appearance made her the target of relentless bullying. She even had to change schools and started attending Clear Lake High School, where the bullying continued. 2 of the more popular girls in school, Rachel and Tiffany, noticed that Christine was being bullied and befriended her. And they gave her one of those like early 2000 movie style makeovers, you know, when they like take off like the nerdy girl's glasses and realize she was beautiful all along. The makeover was so drastic that Christine was voted Miss Irresistible by her classmates, the same ones that were like just bullying her. Christine, Rachel, and Tiffany were best friends. They did everything together, but unfortunately Rachel and Tiffany were a year older than Christine, so when they graduated, Christine was back to not really having any other friends. so she kind of fell into the wrong crowd. It was also around the same time that Christine started dating 21-year-old Chris Snyder. The two had like a really toxic relationship and started abusing hard substances together. And Tiffany and Rachel did not like their friend's new boyfriend. They like weren't into hard substances. They would occasionally be at parties where like lettuce would be floating around, but the stuff that Christine and Chris were doing was much harder. So on July 18th, 2003, 17-year-old Christine and 21-year-old Chris planned to go to Tiffany's house just to steal some lettuce, but instead started shooting at everyone that was in the house. The couple fired at least 40 rounds, unaliving Rachel, Tiffany, Tiffany's boyfriend Marcus, and his cousin Dee. And this massacre would go unsolved for years, until an anonymous tip came in that led the investigators to the names Chris Snyder and Christine Paula. And no one wanted to believe that Christine could be involved in any way. I mean, she was supposed to be Tiffany and Rachel's best friend. Like, it didn't make any sense, but it was sadly true. Christine was found and brought into custody at a motel that she was hiding out at that was filled with hundreds of needles, and she was sentenced to life in prison. Chris Snyder was never able to be brought to justice because he unalived himself when he found out that the police were finally after him. Christine never apologized or gave any motive to why she unalived her best friends, even though Tiffany and Rachel were the first people to ever show her any kindness. Now it's widely believed that she was just bitterly jealous of them because of how effortlessly beautiful and popular they were. Let me know all of your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments.
Imagine taking a holiday photo only to discover in the background was a dead body. A YouTuber's boyfriend joked this is what murder episodes are made of. He didn't realise just how accurate he was. Travel vlogger Sarah Funk has over 282,000 subscribers on YouTube. Back in 2007, she was on holiday in Cyprus with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend Lewis took a beautiful photo of her at the Mitsiro Red Lake. Now, at first glance, you might think that the lake looks kind of creepy due to the fact that it's red. The water in the lake turns red due to acid and gives it a really eerie feel. However, there's another reason that this is a really eerie area. Lewis and Sarah discussed this on a vlog clip when Lewis said this is what murder episodes are made of. As the video cut to a close-up of a suitcase in the lake, Sarah said, "I just feel like death is in the air." Now, they couldn't have been more accurate. What appears to be a suitcase was floating in the lake. 2 years after the trip, the pair were forced to come to terms with the fact that this was a lot more creepy than they'd even imagined. They had to come to the realization of what might have been inside that suitcase. An army captain from Cyprus admitted to killing 2 children and 5 women. The serial killer told officers he had indeed disposed of some of the bodies in the lake. 2 of his victims' bodies were found in suitcases in the lake that Sarah was at.
This is everything that happened on the news today, but it's going to be simplified in 60 seconds. Alabama grocery stores now have ammunition inside of vending machines. Okay. If you haven't heard about this, the John Wick director Chad S. is now producing the English language Kill remake for Lionsgate that a lot of people have been waiting for. Basically, the English remake of the Indian action film Kill for Lionsgate came out in theaters literally yesterday, and it's really good. Amazon has now replaced over 100,000 different humans with 750,000 robots. It takes more to do the job. A new study by Wells Fargo analysts revealed significantly inconsistent portion sizes at Chipotle. This is a little late. The world record of 420 million Mbps internet speed was hit in Japan. I don't even know what this would need to be used for, but this is crazy. The NASA crew that's living on Mars in a simulation for a year will return to the outside world this weekend. So this crew has been spending a full year in simulation to see what it would be like if we were to live on Mars, and they literally get released tomorrow on Saturday the 6th of July, which is crazy. I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
This is the story of how a middle-aged mom becomes the most feared woman by one of the most dangerous cartels in all of Mexico. Miriam, a regular civilian in San Fernando, a middle-aged mom, is looking for the florist. Most people in town don't even know the florist's real name. They just call him the florist because ever since he was a kid, he would just sell flowers on the street. He'd be standing on the corner holding a few stems of flowers, looking very hungry. If it was a marketing tactic, it was definitely working. Anytime Miriam would make a big dinner, she was known for this, she would call all the kids in the the area that looked like they could use a warm meal. She would call them over, and the florist was usually on that guest list. It's clear that nobody was taking care of him. That is Miriam's very first and most consistent memory of the florist. But it's interesting because he was just always in Miriam's life. Not really ever in her life, but just a side character that never fully went away. He was just always kind of there. Even later, when Miriam's youngest daughter Karen starts getting older, the florist would chase her down and try to give her flowers for free. Karen has this very bright, light-colored blonde hair, and she has a, quote, rosy complexion. And so a lot of people said it made her stand out in the area, and a lot of guys were interested in her, and I guess including the florist. But Karen would nicely reject the florist, offer him $1 or $2, knowing that he wasn't doing well, and then walk back to school. Karen was always very sweet with the florist. That's what Miriam is thinking about when she sees him down the walkway. There he is, the florist. She starts running up to him and then tackles him on the ground. She pulls out a loaded pistol from her trench coat jacket, jams it into his back, and whispers into the florist's ear, "If you move, I will fucking shoot you." She also knew the florist was now part of the Zeta cartel. He was part of the cell that kidnapped and killed her daughter Karen. She jams the gun deeper into the skin of his back, but she doesn't need to. He knows she will shoot if he moves, because this is not Miriam's first cartel takedown. The florist is her 11th target. Before him, there were 10. 4 are now in prison and 6 are now dead. The florist was about to be dead too, if he doesn't do as Miriam says.
But Miriam took care of him, right?
Took care of him, he's arrested.
No, I'm saying like Miriam was like giving him food.
Yes,
like,
when he was younger.
He kisses me, and I hear it, and I can feel some pressure, but I can't really feel her kiss me. That's my left eye. I look my teeth. What you see here is actually bone.
November of 2008. 23-year-old Daniel Weens was working with his brother and uncle at Ridgely Baptist Church doing a small touch-up painting job on the building. Touch-ups needed to be done at the top of the outside of the building, and so Daniel himself volunteered to get into the platform of a hydraulic boom lift or cherry picker. And so he did and began operating the machine, raising himself higher and higher, unaware of the danger he was going directly towards. His 2 relatives could only look on in horror as they saw Daniel raise himself directly into a high voltage electrical wire that was suspended just above his forehead. For 15 seconds straight, electricity seared through Daniel's body. Once this electricity let go of Daniel, his body slumped down to the platform, and his brother fell into hysteria at what he had just witnessed. And it was actually Daniel himself who mustered up the strength to call 911. But when medics arrived, the burns had actually fused Daniel's lips together by that time. And over the course of several days, Daniel's cells in his facial skin began fusing with his muscle, fat, and even hair, becoming this translucent shell that was now his face. He was left with only a small slit for a mouth. As surgeons gradually removed piece by piece of his face for his own recovery and safety, Daniel's family recall feeling like they were witnessing his identity be taken away piece by piece. But in 2011, Daniel received a life-changing face transplant and actually went on to marry his now wife at the same church that nightmare accident occurred.